Welcome to our Shiur Bava Kama Gimel Amud Beis, but we are still in Gimel Amud Aleph. We are 3 lines from the bottom of Gimel Amud Aleph, and we're so happy to see you here today. Gimel Amud Aleph is about bo. The Torah called bo, the Av called bo, a pit, a person. It says in the Torah, ki ish bo, v'lo yichasenu. In other words, a person dug a pit in the street and did not cover it, or didn't cover the existing board that he had there before. So then he's chayav for what? This is also something important to know before we continue. The owner of the board is only chayav if animals fell inside. There are exceptions to the rule, but normally if a human being, the depth is also an issue. The depth is also an issue. We're not talking now about the depth, about the 10 and 9. I'm talking now about the bow being chayav only on Shor oy chamor, shor veloy odom, chamor velo kelim, which means only if animals fell inside you're chayav. If a human being fell inside, or let's say vessels fell inside because somebody was holding them, so then the person balabo is not chayav in most cases. Okay, so now we are still in search. What is whole sugya here? The entire sugya in the past few days and the next and today, we're going to discover what was that mysterious Tolda that is not like the father. Remember, we said that there is a Tolda somewhere out there. Out of all 4 ovois, there's one father that has a Tolda that is a Tolda. In other words, there's a Chiyuv and Itla Alocha, but the Tolda is not as chayiv as the father. The Tolda is less than the father. It's different to the father. We are yet to find which one that is. We're still in search of that. Okay, the Shiur is li'ilu nishmas of Imori Menachem ben Akiva, li'ilu nishmas so bas Moshe Tzila bas Ben Zion lofos kol chol Yisrael. Ella, let's go. 3 lines from the bottom. Avnoi sakino masoy shenichan b'rshus harabim ve'eziku. A person placed very smartly his stone, or rock, his knife, or any burden, any bundle in the street. And what? Heziku, they damaged people, tripped into them, they cut themselves, they just fell over, they tripped into it, they bumped into it. Echidami. Well, what exactly is the story? And here we're going to come to a very interesting yisoid. I'll again have to make an introduction. We barely started, but now you're going to have a complete change of mindset regarding what's called father and son, even in halacha. We're going to see now something very strange, seemingly. So before people raise their eyebrows and go crazy, I'm going to give an introduction. As we all know, as opposed to goyim, we know that a father and a son is not just a genetical DNA thing. There's much more to it. I'll give a very simple halachic explanation or example. Imagine yourself, and this is unfortunately, you don't have to imagine, it's very common. Mr. Cohen from America. There's a guy called Mr. Cohen, and he's Jewish, and he has a son who looks exactly like him. Wow. Cohen Jr. looks exactly like Cohen Sr. It happens a lot in America, and it happens even in England. It happens in many places. And Mr. Cohen, the father, is a Jewish man. His son, also Mr. Cohen, Jr., looks very much like him. And the DNA and genetically they're the same, and they have similar mannerism, but Mr. Cohen Jr. is not Jewish. You guess why? Very hard to guess why. But so physically speaking, Dr. Mackenzie, he's his maternal grandfather. Dr. Mackenzie tested the DNA and everything. They're exactly father and son, no question. But halachically, we know that he's a Yid and he's a Goy. If Mackenzie Jr. will be Megayer, then he's a completely in other words, so physically, he's a son. But halachically, that's a whole different story, right? He's a Yid and he's a Goy. And he's not a Kohen, right? It's true. If he's Megayer, he's not a Kohen. He's not going to duchen even once. Yeah. So get me? Also, the father doesn't duchen as long as he's married to the Goyte. He's an non-Kohen Kohen. And therefore, we know that in halacha, in order to be considered father and son, it's not enough to be physically the same. You also have to be halachically similar, the halachic requirements, prerequisites for that too. Now that we have that in mind, let's talk about Nezikin and continue the Gemara. Echidami, what is the story exactly of the Tolda of Bo called Avner Sakino Masoi? Idaf Karinhu. Let's say the person was mafkir. The person disowned those objects. This person relinquished ownership. He said, this is my stone, this is my knife. I don't need it anymore. He bought a knife to do kriya. But the koisel, very frum guy, does kriya with a knife, and then he leaves it in the street. Very smart. Ben Adam Lechavero doesn't exist by him. That's okay. Yeah. So he is mafkir the knife, puts it there in the Kotel Plaza, and he's mafkir. He says, I'm a nice guy. It's hefker. Whoever wants can use my knife. It's okay. Very nice and safe. So now, let's say he was mafkir. Then says the Gemara, Ben Rav uben Shmuel hainu bo. Both Rav and Shmuel agree it's a bo. Oh, what's going on over here? There's a lot of introduction required. Rav and Shmuel argue, and that's going to be a very interesting thing now. Rav and Shmuel have an argument regarding the essence of bo, the halachic essence of bo, not the physical appearance. What, according to, let's say both Rav and Shmuel agree that just like a bow of the Torah, when the Torah talks about a boar, what's the case? Which, Mr. Ackerman just showed me very nicely, the Pasuk, Kicha ish bo. A person doesn't own the bow, physically, he didn't buy it, yeah? What did he do? He dug it. He physically created it. It's in Rishus Harabim. When I dig a bow in Rishus Harabim, there's a limit to the chutzpah. I'm not going to claim this is mine, right? This is a bow which maybe I'm an area worker, maybe I'm a kid playing around. I dug a bow in Rishus Harabim. Now, the bow is not usually owned by me, right? The normal scenario of bow in the Torah means something that I created, but I didn't buy it. It's not owned by me as opposed to my show. It's not owned by me. Therefore, both Rav and Shmuel agree that if I have something in the middle of the street that was mafkir, something that's not owned by me, that meets the criteria of bo. And therefore, Dichai on bo. That's actually simple. That's not even a chiddush. Now we're going to throw the bombshell. Flip the page, please, my esteemed friends. Let's say the person was not mafkir. Let's say the person says, no, this is my knife in the middle of the street. He left his knife in the middle of the Kotel Plaza, and now he's going to daven very strongly about everything he needs. But the knife is still his. He still wants to claim it back. Yeah, it's still his bundle, which he left in the middle of the street. He was not mafkir it. Here comes a machalokes. Very interesting. Il Shmuel. Shmuel says the Omar Kulam Miboiroi Lamadnu. Shmuel says whether you own the object in the middle of the street, that obstacle, whether you don't, in both cases you learn it from bo. The ownership doesn't make a difference. It's true that the Torah spoke about a board that's not owned by me because it's a board that I created. Nobody owns Rishus Harabim. It's true. But Lamaisa says Shmuel, Bigadol, I'm being very superficial now. I don't care, says Shmuel, whether he owns it or he doesn't own it. It's a board. At the end of the day, it's a stumbling stone? Yes. It's in the middle of the street? Yes. Gamarnu, that's bor, according to Shmuel. Now, Ve'ila Rav, wow, Rav comes with a huge chiddush. Rav's the Omar Kulam Mishoiroi Lamadnu. Wow. Rav says as follows. Rav says, if you left your bundle in the middle of the street and you still own it, you did not, so to speak, disown it, then we say this is not bo. Rav believes that even though it looks like a boar and smells like a boar and behaves like a boar and quacks like a duck, in other words, it has everything like a boar, but no, he believes that, just like with Mr. Cohen, father and son, the halacha requires that the boar should not be yours. But Rav believes, for reasons we'll see later on, when the actual sugya appears, that Rav believes that bo is something that you don't own. It's something you create, and therefore it's a stumbling stone. But if I have my object in the middle of the street, that's not bo. So why am I chayiv? Am I going to go scot-free? I left something in the middle of the street, owned by me. Everyone trips over it. The whole kotel is, jumping up and down over the thing and falling and hurting. So am I potter? I'm not potter. Rav found another av melachos, like a sargit av melacha called shol. Because shol lemaisa is, if you notice, out of 4 avos nezikin, only 1 av is really owned by myself. Fire is not always owned by me. Bo is not owned by me necessarily. Odom is just me, myself. But the only object that belongs to me is shol. Shol is the only one out of 4, which is actually something very clearly owned by me, right? I bought this shor for $5,000, right? And Mimela, he says, if I have a nezek that's owned by me, it doesn't fit into other category, automatically it's called shor. Tosfos doesn't like it so much. Tosfos says, Lamaisa, it's not a shor. Halachically, I can understand, but physically, it's very different. So Tosfos says, really, it's a combination of bo and shor. It's like a bo physically, and halachically, it's like shor. Cohen Jr. is like his father genetically. Halachically, he's not. Yeah, it's a combination of both. Mimela, but at the end of the day, Rav learns it from shor. In any event, at the end of the day, by the way, there's nafkamina. I would ask you a question. And the question is a rude question. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares if it's Bo or Shol? Everyone agrees that if I trip over the item, yeah, like whether it's owned by the other guy, then the other guy has to pay. What's the difference whether it's Bo or Shol? The answer is easy. By Shol, you have on everything: animals, kalim, people. If it's a Shol, right? Also the kalim, the vessels or the clothes, the garments. If it's a Bo, then you have more pturim, you have more exemptions. That's the difference. Okay? But Lamaisa, let's go back to our sugya. Maishna Bo, let's go to the third line. Maishna Bo, at the end of the day, Shol, we're looking for that mysterious, out of line Tolda that's not like the father. Who is it? If it's a Shol, we already established that shows or any Av of Shol, the Toldas and the Avos are the same. Continues the Gemara, Maishna Bo, according to Shmuel, this knife or bundle in the street that's owned by me is called Bo, right? Now, Bo, Maishna Bo, Sheken Tchilas Asiyoso Lenezek, Umamoincho V'Shmiroso Olecho. What's the difference between father of Bo and son Bo? The Bo, Tchilas Asiyoso Lenezek. Bo is something that was created right from the beginning just for Nezek. When you dig a pit in the middle of the street, there's nothing good about it. It's nezek. Maybe there's something good. You want to look for some gold under there. But Lamaisa, the nezek starts right from the beginning. As opposed to an animal that was born innocent, it is not all nezek. Excuse me. And it's also mamoincho. It's your money, and it's your responsibility. When you say mamoincho, even though the boar is not your money, always, but the Torah made it as if it's your money. The Torah says it's yours for the bad stuff, for the liabilities. Haninami. So the knife and the bundle and the rock that you left in the middle of the street, whether you own it or you don't own it, are exactly the same. Says Rashi, once you placed it in the middle of the Kotel Plaza or in the middle of the street, in the middle of Ben Yehuda, you placed a big bundle or a knife or a stone. Well, right from that second, it's a nezek. It's not like an animal that starts off, okay, walking down the street gingerly. No. And you're your money, and you have to guard it. Ella told the Bo Kibo. Must be, logically speaking, the told of Bo is like a bar. The told of Bo, Avno, Sakina, Masoy, all the bundles and stuff left in the middle of the street are like the bar that is subterranean, that is underground. Same thing. Logically, it's the same. So we are yet to find that mysterious, mischievous Melacha, not Melacha, told her that's not like the father. Who is it? V'chika, Rav Papa told her the Maveh. Oh, we're playing a lot of pass the buck over here, pass the parcel. Yeah, we're now passing the parcel to Maveh. Remember, there are four of us Nezikin: Shor, Bo, Maveh, and Hever. Hever is fire. Maveh is a very strange word. It doesn't even exist in modern Hebrew. And the Gemara also, now we're looking for Maveh, that strange sounding word Maveh, and we're trying to see maybe Maveh, knock knock, maybe Maveh will be the one where we're going to find in Tolda that is not exactly like the father. Frag the Gemara, my meal. Well, what's Maveh? Apparently, later on, we'll see it's a Machalokes Rav Shmuel, what's called Maveh. And today, Meretz Hashem, at the end of the Shiur, we're going to see exactly why grammatically the word Maveh, why Shmuel learned this way and Rav learned the other way. Ila Shmuel, let's start with Shmuel. The Omar Maveh Zushen, Shmuel says Maveh means the tooth. In other words, he believes that Sho only means Keren or Regel. We're going to see that later on. And Maveh means the Shen of the Sho. In other words, the same Shen we learned about, the Shein Ezach, the tooth that eats or rubs its back against the wall. Shmuel learns, I agree to that. But I called it Maveh. We explained why before, remember? Maveh means to discover, uncover. And therefore the Shen is something which sometimes you cover and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's exposed, sometimes you're not. When the camera comes, you expose it. Zog the Gemara, Shen, that's all the old hats. How Kimna, we explained already, told of the Shen, Kishen. We have already established in Amud Aleph that a told of Shen is like Shen, an animal that rolls over the tomatoes of the friend of farmer McDavid. That's fun for the animal. It's exactly like eating. We established that already, no question. So the father and the son are the same. Ilarav, Doma Mavez Odom. Oh, Rav says no. Rav says Sho means shore with all three derivatives. Bo is Bo, and Maveh is a person who damaged himself. Sadly enough, people tend to damage all the time. People, they say in the Guinness Book of Record, which animal is the most dangerous in the world? Adam. People killed more than any other species. Yeah, it's true. People kill with guns. So Maveh is the Adam. So the Adam Hamazik is called Maveh. Oh, that's a new one. That's exciting. We didn't yet speak about Adam before. Let's see now what's the Av and the Tolda of a human damaging my Ovis and my Toldas Isbei. Which Ovis and which Toldas, which fathers and sons, so to speak, prototypes and derivatives, which one do you have by Adam? The Chitema, maybe going to suggest Av Neo, a father, a regular prototype of an Adam Amazik is when he's awake. A person is awake and he punches his friend. And the Tolda Yoshin, a Tolda of it, which is the more abnormal case, would be a person sleeping. Let's say a person, while he's asleep, he was sleeping, and as he's sleeping, he was rolling over, not realizing what he's doing, and he hit He hits someone's kli, someone's, vessel, someone's sefer is next to his Nagelwasser jug, and he, by mistake, as he was asleep, while he was asleep, he hit it, the whole thing is wet and destroyed. And maybe if it's Yoshin, it's a Tolda that's not like the father. Maybe the person is asleep, then he should be exempt. And maybe that's a Tolda, it's a similar case, it's a man damaging, but he's not Chayiv, or Chayiv maybe less, because he's asleep. What do you want? Give the guy a break. Says the Gemara, says in the Mishnah, it's toward the end of second paragraph, the end of the first paragraph, I think. It says in the Mishnah, it's a Daf Chavov, remember. It says in Daf Chavov a very, very famous line, which it's the end of second paragraph. It says over there a famous line, which even became a phrase in modern Hebrew. It says, Adam muad le'oilom. Ever heard of that? A person is always liable to what he does. Ben Yoshen. Wow. A person is always muad. As opposed to Billy the Bull, or the pit bull. We spoke about the pit and the bull. Pit bull. That's a shidduch. Yeah. As opposed to an animal which is only muad after 3 times, a person is muad already by the first time, even while asleep. Wow. Which means a person, the Torah expects a lot, has very high expectations of people. Oda muad la'olam. By the way, muad, what does muad really mean? Muad means that he was testified. 8. And we know that Adim are the ones that warn. Adam is ki'ilu pre-warned. You can't say, I didn't expect it to happen. Now, you may ask, what? The person is asleep? You're telling a sleeping person that he's chai for what he does? Yesh gvul. So really, I don't know if it's more Rishonim, I have faint memory from years ago. They do say that depends, I think it's a Gemara somewhere, that depends who was there first, the person or the vessel, the kelim. If the person fell asleep next to vessels, he should have been careful. When he fell asleep, you knew he had Nagelwasser next to you, you knew there was a safer or can be safer, keep a safe distance, don't go to sleep near the fleas, or as they say, don't go to sleep where there's danger. If somebody placed the kelim after the person was fast asleep, then he's not liable. But generally speaking, in certain situations, when you should have planned well your place of sleeping, you should have planned it in such a way. You're sleeping in a tent, in the army, somewhere, I don't know, on a trip. You have to make sure when you sleep in such conditions to do your best not to sleep in a situation that can cause later on damage while you're asleep. Well, before you went to sleep, before you said Hamapil, you should have known to go to sleep in a safer environment that's safe for others and as well as for you. And therefore you're muad. So therefore the Gemara says there's no difference. I'd like to say there's a difference, but hey, there isn't. In other words, both Yoshan and Er, whether you sleep or awake, at the end of the day, you're called as muad. So it's not a tolda. Maybe you can call it a tolda, but it's the same as Yav. Or maybe they're both Av. I don't know. I think it's a Machalokes Rav Shmuel here, if I remember correctly. But Lamaisa, there's no less of a chiyuv. You have nezek shalom. Yeah, you ruined his book that's worth 100 shekels. You have to pay 100 shekels, even if it happened while you were asleep. Okay, let's hear a quick one from Peretz, and then we'll continue. Yes, I'm with you. Wow, you're serious? Okay, weiter. So now continues the Gemara. Yeah, Ella must be, let's look for another Av. By the way, the line starts with the word and Ben Yoshin, Ella. Let's look for another Av and told that it may not be the same. Akichoi v'ni'oi. That's disgusting. Kichoy v'nioi are basically, according to Rashi, the saliva, the spittle, and nioi is the nose mucus. Yeah, the mucus. Yeah, the nozelet. So they're the tolda. They're the tolda of a person. The person himself is mazik. Let's say a person's spittle was mazik. We'll see soon how. Then he may also be chayiv, but maybe less, or maybe he's not chayiv. Let's see. Says Gemara Hechidami. Let's explore. Let's examine. I behadi the azli kamazki. If, as they were going, as they were flying, the mazik, somebody spat into his friend's, salad or coffee, or he sneezed into his friend's salad. The salad is worth 70 shekel in Rimon, and now the 70 shekel is destroyed because why? You sneezed all over my salad. I'm sorry for being disgusting. As it's going, then it's called koichoy have. It's called the koich of the person. It's a person original first force. Koichim, of course you chayiv. Grama is koich koichoy. Koich means anything that comes directly from the power of the person. If the person went true, I can't exactly show this here, yeah? If the person spat or sneezed, on the other person's belongings, then of course he's chayiv. He's chayiv as much as punching him with his fist. Because koyach is like the person. In the Sanhedrin, Dafain Zayin, v'chulei. Ibasa denayach. Let's say, first of all, he spat on the floor, which is disgusting, and people do it sometimes. He spat on the floor, and then somebody tripped all over. Yeah, tripped over the spittle, and something happened. Let's say a person is not a good example. Let's say someone's cat tripped all over. After it was already nayach, after it was already resting, he was already in a stationary matzav, and then the animal came and tripped. That reminds us of what? Of what? If someone has something that belongs to him or does not belong to him, because of course the spittle doesn't belong to him anymore, then what? And somebody trips over it. How is that called? Bo! Very good, Shlomo. Then Ben Rav, Ben Shmuel, Hainu Bo, both Rav and Shmuel would agree that the spittle is not something which I keep for myself. Of course, I mafkir it, and everyone agrees that a hefker piece of meat that's on the floor, and then someone came and tripped all over, of course, it's bone. And therefore, why should it be potter? Of course, the Tolda and Av are the same. Who didn't find it yet? Oy vay voy. Ela Tolda the Maveh Maveh. The Tolda of Maveh, assuming Maveh is the person, a human being, the Tolda of human being's nezek is like the human being himself. And therefore, we did not yet find any source for that mysterious Tolda that is not like daddy. Who is that surrogate child, the surrogate father? The Chikama of Papa, I told her the Eish. We're looking now desperately, we're getting desperate, more and more desperate, looking for Eish. Eish is the fourth one, right? Because we say, you have to know this by heart, of course. The Avas, Ashor, Bo, Maveh, which is either a shen or a person, and Hev'er. What's Hev'er? Fire. Lavir Esh, Mavir in Shabbos. Ela Tolda the Eish. Okay, maybe Tolda the Esh. The Tolda of fire may be the one. There we're going to find comfort in the arms of the Tolda the Eish. The what? Maybe Tolda the Eish is one that's not like the father. Let's see, let's explore. Tolda the Eish, mind you, what exactly is the byproduct? What is that subtitle of Eish, of the biblical fire? Ilema, if you want to tell me, as I write in the chart, Avnoi, Sakinoi, Umasooi, same terms as by bow, right? And that's what Mr. Ackerman meant before. If you want to tell me, Avnoi, someone's left his rock, or his knife, or his bundle, shenichandosh gagoy, he left it on his roof, and the roof doesn't have proper railing, doesn't have real, protection. V'noflu beruach mitzuya ve'eziku, and they fell with regular wind. If the wind was some kind of crazy, unexpected hurricane, typhoon, that's a different story. That's oines. So far, we did not discuss oinsim. Sometimes, things are beyond the human control, and then the person is potter, if you can prove it to Beis Din. But let's say it was a regular wind, which is expected all the time. It's a windy city, normal wind came, and the wind, as wind tends to do, took his knife, so to speak, and flung it over where? Into the streets below. So now, Hechidami, what exactly is the story? Because why do we compare it to Eish? Look at the very bottom of the chart. Yeah, I think it's missing a word there because I didn't have room. What is the general definition of Eish? What is the broader definition of fire? Yeah, good, good, good. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Who's going to win a trip to Vegas? Yes, and a new car. The fire is something, which means fire by itself will not go anywhere unless the wind blows it somewhere. It sees where the wind blows. Yeah, so too, you have another foreign force involved in it. Yeah, that is the story over here. It's my knife, it's my bundle that the wind took to a whole different place. That's a tolda of Aish. That's a derivative of Aish. You have my money, my doing, my placing it on the roof, plus the wind that came over and took it to other places that are dangerous. But exactly what happened, says the Gemara. Wait a second. Hey, Chidami, what exactly is the story? If you were to tell me that as they were going, like we said before by the spittle, as the knife, let's say it's a rather low roof, and it's like flying horizontally before it's caught by gravity, it's flying horizontally, and boom, it hit someone's head. My knife was somewhere, the knife flew with the wind, and bang, gave a bang on someone's head, or a cut. Then what? Hainu Eish, that's fire. That's exactly like fire. Maishna Eish, now the Gemara is going to say what I said. Memshin Maishna. What's the difference between Eish, the Koech Acher Me'urev Bohen? Fire is something that naturally there's another force involved within it, something else makes it move, and that is the wind. It's your money, or Eish is not your money. Eish is your doing, your creation, and you should jolly well look after it. It's your responsibility. Aninami, the knife that, so to speak, works, in tandem cooperation with the wind. There's another force over there. It's your money, my friend. Ella told her there's cash. Told her like fire is fire. Yeah, that's it. We've agitated the whole thing. What? We're down to zero. All four told us were already introduced, and we did not yet find that mysterious tolda, which is different to the father. Now it's coming. Says the Gemara, a second round, but now it's going to be very short. We're coming to the answer, guys. Where's the champagne? The Chik Omar of Papa told her the regel. Says the Gemara, when Rav Papa, what did Rav Papa mean when he said that the told is not like the father? The told of regel. Regel, you all know what regel is, the animal walking all over the thing. Regel, what? Regel? We've been through that. We've searched that at the beginning. Regel, ha'ukimna told her the regel keregel. We already said the told of regel is like the regel, because who cares whether the animal walked all over it, or the animal's muzzle, or the animal's bell brushed against it and broke it. It's the same thing. They're both nezek shalem, and both only apply where? In someone else's field. So, answers the Gemara and Nuchidish. Welcome to a whole new term. Bechatzi nezek tzroirois. The Hilchas Gemira. In Hashem, when we're going to Hashem learn the second perek, at the first perek half, I think, of the second perek talks about a thing called tzrorot. Tzroros means one meaning of the word tzroros means pebbles. How do they write it? As Mechaveh Torah scroll. Soon I'll give you a professor emeritus. Yeah, Bekitzer tzroros. I said pebbles. So Bekitzer, let's say an animal. Let's imagine yourself a hen, a rooster, which is actually a case brought down by the Mishnah over there. The hen is walking over things. If the hen is walking straight on your little nice china doll, it's a strong rooster. He's the king of the coop. Yeah, he's there. Yeah. And then he walks and he trips over it and breaks it. What's halacha? Chayev, regel. Well, what happens if he walks on pebbles, and as he walks on the pebble, he hits the pebble like with his foot in a way that the pebble then flies over to another place and hits the china doll over there. Get me? In other words, he's walking here, but it's koicho, it's a direct koyach. He goes like boom, he hits the pebble and pach, in a second. It's a matter of seconds. It's a direct thing. It's not a grama of the rooster. The rooster hit it, or the cow, or the elephant too, and then boom, they go flying, yeah, and then it's flung into my, I don't know, something, into my little china doll and breaks it. That is called shroiros. Me'ikar adin, he should have been nezek sholem. He should have paid. It's regel. It's not considered indirect. However, there is the hand's owner, of course, yeah, is chayev. The hand itself, I don't think. So then what? There's a halacha m'shem Sinai, that the owner only has to pay half. It's a chidush Torah. Chidush Torah, halacha m'shem Sinai, not from the psukim. It's a special chidush which we know, oral tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu, that in that case the animal, so to speak, has to pay half. Chatzi nezek, so there's a lot of lomdish over there. It's a very, very indukasugya. No. Thank you for the question. I'll give you another case, even more interessant. What happens? We can combine two cases together. It's really the Mishnah. It's not me. The Mishnah says, what happens if our good friend Henny the rooster is Hen and rooster are not the same. I know, it's male, but his name is Roosty. Roosty the rooster, yeah, he walks over a breakable, fragile item, like a small, cute little, glass item. He breaks it, smashes it into small broken pieces. And then one of the broken pieces right away as a result of his motion, flies and breaks another glass jar, another glass thing. From the strength, of that, that motion, boom, it falls and it breaks someone else's something. How much is it chayev? He did 2 in 1, smart rooster. On the thing that he stepped on directly is chayev nezek sholem. So if my little glass is worth 50 shekels, he'll pay me 50. Now, one of the broken pieces straight away flew into another, paint some cloth and tore it, and that was worth 100. How much does he have to pay for that one? 50. This is direct, and this is Troros. So Jeffrey does not have to be pebbles. Pebbles just an example of, for anything, any piece of shrapnel, whatever you want to call it, anything that that flew into another item and damaged it is chayv hefenezek. Okay.
What's the difference between the wind with the fire and the rooster with the stone? Because it's still a third party involved, i.e. the wind and i.e. the chicken.
Gezeras hakasuv. It's nothing to do with the fire, because this is my animal. No. Koch is not wind. No. With the object. Okay, I forgive you for asking without raising. Right? Okay.
With the items on the roof, a third party, i.e. the wind, flew the objects off the roof, and the third party, i.e. the chicken, no. Let me rephrase your question first, and then I'll answer it. You're asking, why is the rooster chayev? There is a third party involved. First of all, in both cases, they're chayev, which means by the wind, my item is a knife, came a third party called the wind, right? And the wind made it fly into someone's head with a gravity, zusammen, and now everything together is called fire, and I'm chayev. I'm chayev because fire by nature is something that moves with the wind. Yeah, moves with the wind, gone with the wind, it's all with the wind. It's all there with the wind, and therefore I'm chayev. That's the definition of the Torah. Now there's another thing called koichoi. Koich is not fire, my friend. If I spit at someone, if I live in Shemesh or even outside Shemesh, if I live in Shemesh, the whole world knows about it. That's a difference. Yeah, if you spit at someone in a way that's mazik, that's not called the wind. It's mamish as if I did it myself. There's no difference whether I punch someone's nose with my fist, which I would not do, or if I spat on his face, which I wouldn't do either. It's the same thing. It's called kocho. It's his force. It's his power. It's his energy directly. And therefore, in both cases, I'm chayev. The question is with a chicken, with a rooster, with a cow that steps on something and straight away, within half a second, the thing flies right away. As a direct result, it should have been chayev nezek sholem, not wind, because it's an animal that's damaging directly. My animal damaging someone in a direct manner by walking is called regel. It should have been chayev nezek sholem because it's just regel. Because it's not the wind. It's not a combination of wind and something else. No. It's just what? My animal directly damaging someone by walking. That is regel just par excellence. However, came the Torah Kedosha decided, the Kosh Baruch Hu decided, don't ask me why, and Hashem decided that if this happens in such a way of kocho, of like a poof, and not indirect, but like, semi-indirect, not trampling right away, but as a secondary result, then we say what? Then we say the Chayv Chetzi Nezek. Why? Because it's the Kosovo. Are we clear now? Yes? Good. Good, Baruch Hashem. Thank you for the question. Okay, very good. Now. Frag the Gemara. Now comes a very, very interesting question of the Gemara. The Gemara asks a question which again brings us back to Mr. Cohen, the Jew, and Mr. Cohen, the Goy. Frag the Gemara, V'amai kari l'toldo de regel. Why do you call it a byproduct of regel? I mean, first of all, Mazel Tov. Oh, let's wait a second before we continue and drink a l'chaim. We found it, Yuroka. Oh, we found the tolda, which is not like the father. Aren't you happy? Aren't you smiling? We found a tolda, which is the tolda of regel, soros, but it's not exactly like the father. That father pays full nezek, and the tolda called soros pays half a nezek. Life is beautiful. Now the Gemara asks the question. The Gemara wants to try and bring everything. Nachon. It's a good question why we didn't bring it before. I hear the question. I think I have an answer, but I want to continue and then it's a good point. Good point. Why did Gemara discuss the third regel? I told her the regel. Frag the Gemara. Frag the Gemara. The line starts with the Hilchasa. Frag the Gemara. My Karila told her the regel. Why do you call it a told of regel? Why is that action called a byproduct of told of regel? I would say, what do you mean? And Tosfos said, let's read Tosfos. Get the question? He said, why is it called told of regel? Halachically, it's not the same. Look at Tosfos, which is a few lines below, just 3-4 lines below where we are in the Gemara. Tosfos to the right-hand side of the page, Amai. Tosfos says, Amai Karla told the regel. Says Tosfos, Afal Gab de Dami le regel. What do you mean? It's like regel. I just gave you a whole picturesque description of what? Of the tzroros being mamish like regel. So what do you mean why it's a total regel? They look alike. Mr. Cohen, father and son, look exactly the same. I don't sound anti-Semitic, but both look like Jews. Yeah, Kevan answers the Gemara. The Tosfos answers Tosfos. Kevan shedina chaluk, because the halacha is not the same, because you pay half. Wow. The Gemara claims if halachically they're not the same, because this is a full nezek, this is half a nezek, it should have been an av of its own. Cohen Jr. is not the son of Cohen Sr. Yeah, in other words, because halacha is not the same, that's full nezek, that's half nezek. Why is that called the tolda? Tolda and av are not only similar in behavior, they're similar in halacha. That's a time, that's a question. So why do you call the tolda the regel? Answers the Gemara. Back to the Gemara, line starts with the regel. L'shalem min ha'aliyah. L'shalem min ha'aliyah. What does that mean? L'shalem min ha'aliyah means that if the damage happened, let's say you have to pay the very fancy vase or vase that I had, and your animal with a stupid pebble that poof flew into my $1,000 beautiful, very gentle glass vase. And now it broke. You owe me $1,000. I don't know, $1,000. You owe $1,000. How do you pay for this $1,000? How do you pay the $1,000? I don't care. If you don't have cash, you have to pay how? How do you pay? We said with land. What kind of land? You guys, PhD in Talmud. Yeah. In other words, avada, you have to pay the aliyah. You have to pay from the best of your land. The question is, what's the chiddush? Why not? Says Rashi, and this is something you guys have to know. And by the way, I changed the chart. I added that point to the chart. There's a chart with the new version. But when it comes to Keren, to a bull goring, I'm not going down to all the details because it's a lot over there. You have to pay how much? Half, right? Let's say my bull is worth how much? My bull is worth $300 after it's dead. I can sell it to Arabs, right? To eat. So $300 it's worth. Now, my bull, when it was good but dead, and it gored your bull was worth $1,000. Now, after it's dead, it's worth $200. So I have to pay you $800. By my shor was an innocent shor. It's a first-time crime. And therefore, what? I have to pay only $400. Well, my bull is only worth $300, and I owe you $4. I only have to give you $300. I only have to give you as much as my dead bull is worth.
Why? You only give you the dead. I have to give you my dead corpse right away before it decays, or the worth of it. It's a big sugya. By the way, what I said, every word is a machalokes and a question. I'm talking in general now. Generally speaking, when it comes to Keren, I don't have to pay more than the worth of what I am left with as the mazik. Yeah? Migufoy, it's called Migufoy, thank you, that's a term, from the body of the show. Now, in that respect, we say that, listen to this, although Chatzi Nezek Tzoros reminds us of who? Of Tam, because it's Chatzi Nezek. I would say if it's Chatzi Nezek, maybe also you have to pay another leniency I have, that I don't always have to pay it. I only have to pay it as much, as long as it's within the quotas, within the sum of the body of my animal, not more than that. Kamash Mala, no. But the Tzoros, he pays half an ezek. But the type of payment has to be always half. You never get one, no, not 1 penny less. And if your animal is not worth it, I don't care. Pay me with your land, pay me with cash, pay me with whatever you have, even the best of lands. 1 second. Frag the Gemara, mi bai Rove. What you say is a statement. Rove had that as a question. The bai Rove had a question. Chatzi nezek tzroirois, half an ezek of tzroirois. Migufay mishalim, like Shlomo said, do you pay it from the body of the rooster, of the hen, of the cow, whatever was hurting, the damaging party, only from as much as the body of the animal is worth, and not more than that? And if I owe you 4 and really just 3, then Migufay mishalim, oy min ha'aliyah mishalim, or do I have to pay you? Line starts with the word mishalim, a bit before the 2 dots, or do you pay from the aliyah? Do you pay from the cream of the crop of your land? And the entire half you have to pay. L'Rav says the Gemara, okay, that's very nice, so what? L'Rav mibayle. Rava had this as a question. Rav Papa pshitale. Rav Papa doesn't know anything to Rava. Rava was not sure whether the tzros is paid from the body or from the land. Rav Papa knew for sure that he paid from what? From the land, the cream of the crop, full payment of the half. You can't get less than the half, and therefore Rav Papa defines it as a tolda and an av. In both cases, you pay from the cream of the crop of the land. In that respect, it's a halachic father and son, and that's it. And now, it's not the payment, you pay less, only half, not full. That's a son, that's not like the father. Frag the Gemara, now comes a question just to close the last, to tie the last knot. L'Rava de mibayle, amai kalu told the regel. According to Rava, that saw it as a question. He viewed that as a question, and he may have understood that you don't pay from the land, that when it comes to tzroiros, which is a byproduct of regel, according to Rava, at least 50% of Rava says, I don't know, maybe you pay not from the land, you pay from the gufa, from the body. So why is that a tolda? In which way is it tolda? How is it halachically similar to the father? Answers the Gemara, lefoito b'shus harabim. Lefoito b'shus harabim. Very good. What did it tell you before? Regel in Roshus Harabim, potu, right? What about Sroros Roshus Harabim? Also potu. Also potu. Why you potu in Roshus Harabim? Don't know. But Lamaisa, the ptur of Regel applies to Sroros. So you see, the Sroros and Regel in a way are the same. Halachically, you have a ptur of Roshus Harabim. Okay? Continue. Hamave ve'ahever. Now we come with the 2 dots. 2 dots zehut. Maveh ve'ahever. Maveh ve'ahever. My Maveh. What does Maveh mean? We touched on that Machalokes before, but now that's the source of the Machalokes. Omar. Rav says, excuse me. Okay. My Maveh. What does Maveh mean? Rav Omar Maveh is the Odom. Rav says Maveh means a person damaging. Asleep, awake, he punched someone, he hit someone, his saliva, his shmamayva. Adam, his mazik is called Maveh. Shmuel Amar Maveh is Hashem. Shmuel says Maveh, out of all 3 ovois of Shol, Maveh means the tooth. That's what the Mishnah means. Now the Gemara is going to explain why. What's the sources of each one? Rav Amar Maveh is the Odom. It says in the Torah, it says in the Novi, Omar Shomer, also the Shomer means the guard of Kadosh Baruch Hu. The one who's also Shomer means the one who waits. The one who waits for Geula. Akash Baruch is waiting for the Geula. Also, Boiker v'gam Laila. I can bring to you the morning for tzaddikim and night for a shoim. Intibayun bayu. That's what the Torah says. The Nach says it. Intibayun bayu means if you're going to search for it. If you're going to look for it, then you're going to find it. If you're going to look for Geula, Geula will come. If you really want it, then look for it. I saw in one of the Meforshim, Tiferet Shmuel, I think, it says very nicely, why is the human being called a searcher, one looking? Because at the beginning of the parsha over there about Nezikin talks about a thief. The thief is the one who searches in his rummages through his friends' belongings to find something nice. Yeah, that's what's called tibayun. It can be something good, searching for the emes, yearning for the truth, or it could be looking for someone else's money. In any event, the maveh is a tibayun, is the one who's looking, searching. That's a tchuna, it's a characteristic of a human being. Now, Shmuel says no. Maveh zashen. Maveh means the tooth, dichtiv. And this is a nevuah against Esav. You know, Vadia is very, very anti-Esav. Ech nechpesu Esav, navu matzpunov. And if you don't know what that means, the Gemara is going to translate to Aramaic, which will be very helpful for us. What does it mean, this pasuk? Kedemetagim of Yosef. Rav Yosef was a master of Targum, of Aramaic translation of the Tanakh. You know why? Because Rav Yosef was blind, lo aleinu. Rav Yosef was blind, and because he was blind, he could not actually learn the Torah Baal Peh. You're not allowed to say Psukim Baal Peh. Yeah, and vice versa. Because Rabbi Yosef was blind, he couldn't actually read. So how could he learn Torah? The Torah that's written Mefurish in Lashon HaKodesh, he can't say Baal Peh. So he learned it in Aramaic. Rabbi Yosef became, was forced to become a very, very great master because of his sad circumstances. He became a master of Targum. Because the Targum is not written in the Torah, in the Mefurish and the Tanakh. So Rabbi Yosef was a master of Targum. That's Tosis and other Rishonim. In any event, how does Rabbi Yosef translate the pasuk? Echden isbalish Esav. Esav is mitbalesh. What's balash in Hebrew? Detective. Livlosh is to be played detective, not to detect, to look for, yeah? Investigate. Yeah? What? Balan. No, sorry. No. It's fine, no problem. How does Esav is being searched? Is galin metamrohi. Tamir means hidden. All the hidden dirt is discovered. What's Esav? Esav means everything looks beautiful on the outside. Europe, America, on the outside, everything nice and perfect. Inside is full of schmutz and dirt and bad midos and tina and sina, pritzus, sina, all the terrible things. The pritz is not so hidden, that's true, unfortunately. Anymore. But I'm saying it's all kilo being made nice. But Esav, once you uncover the shmutz, whoa, you're going to find stuff over there. And eventually it's going to happen when Mashiach comes or even before. So in any event, what does it have to do with Shem? He says the Lashon Navu Matzpunov, his Matzpun, the hidden things, that Safun hidden, is Novea. Novea means like being discovered, uncovered. Which part of your body is sometimes covered, sometimes uncovered naturally? I don't mean clothes. That is what? The tooth. You open your mouth, close your mouth, as opposed to your heart, which is always hidden. Yeah. Now, in any event, each one has his own source from Tanakh to tell me that Maveh is either a person, according to Rav, or the animal's tooth, according to Shmuel. Now the Gemara wants to now play the ping pong and says, hey, why didn't he say like him? Rav, why didn't Rav say like Shmuel? In other words, what's wrong with Shmuel's pasuk that says that Navu means the teeth, the uncovered? Rav replies and says, Miktani niv'eh. This is grammar. I'm enjoying myself now, Hebrew grammar for the fans. Yeah. It says in the Mishnah, Maveh. Maveh is mafil. It's an active voice. Yeah. It's an active conjugation. It's Miktani Maveh. It doesn't say niv'eh. Niv'eh means being discovered. The tooth doesn't discover or uncover. The tooth is being uncovered. It's a passive voice. Niv'eh is nif'al. You know the 7 binyonim, yeah? So the Mishnah, according to your Rab, should have said niv'eh, the one that's being uncovered by the lips, yeah? Not mav'eh. So it's wrong grammatically. Shmuel, my time So Shmuel, why don't you say like Rav that mav'eh means what? The person, the man. He says it's not right either, because a person is called bo'eh. In other words, if you say the one who searches, the one who does it, it's called bo'eh, not maveh. Bo'eh is pa'al, maveh is hifil. Yeah, it should have said bo'eh, not maveh. In any event, says the Gemara, okay, Rav Shmuel, Michdi Kroi, the Psukim, Lokim al Daiki, Lokim al Daiki. So when it comes to the Psukim in the Mishnah, nobody actually mentioned to prove that his version is more correct than the other. So at the end of the day, it's down to Svoro. At the end of the day, it's down to logical explanation. If you look in the Mishnah, grammatically, nothing so exciting. If you look at the Psukim, no Pasuk is stronger than the other. So at the end of the day, tell me, Rav, my time alone to Shmuel, 5 lines from the bottom of the page. Why didn't Rav say like Shmuel? Why couldn't Rav say that Maveh is the Shein, and then Shor would be something else? Says Rav, no. Says Rav, Mapitom, Tana Shor, V'chol Mili, the Shor. When the Mishnah said, I'm a simple guy, it says Shor means all 3 components of Shor. Shor includes what? Shen, Regel, and Keren. Shen is part of Shor. Why are you looking to split up Shor into 2 compartments? This kind of Shor. And Maveh is the Shen of the Shor. Speak normal. Shor is Shor in all its derivatives, the Ganze Mishpocha. Then you have the other 3. And the 4th one is the man. Ushmuel Nami Yatanale Shmuel Nami Yatanale Shor. The question is, hey Shmuel, it says Shor. So why don't you see that Shen is included in Shor? We should stop here because now starts a whole story of how to read the Mishnah tomorrow. We're going here, what's tomorrow? Wednesday. Tomorrow, it's Hashem, we're going to read the Mishnah again, and see how the Mishnah works according to Shmuel. Shmuel will have a good answer, but for that, we have to read the Mishnah again. Thank you very, very much for your amazing participation, questions, answers, and everything else in between. Shkoch God, have a great day. Hatzlacha Rabba. The Shiur should come soon.
Right. Oh, you welcome.
Yes.
Where you been? You're gonna sleep up until